Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm Alastair Patton Garcia.
I'm Ian.
I'm Ian Carlos Crawford.
And I am Brett White, and today we are here to talk about Angel, Season 3, Episode 9. Gonna sing you a lullaby, baby. Shh.
That was good, Brad. That was good.
This is real sultry. Hey.
Before we get into the episode, I'm going to do the thing I kept forgetting to do, which is promo our Patreon. If you want to support Slayerfest 98, you can find us on Patreon, where we have a bunch of different tiers. You get access to different content with each tier, but we've been covering Buffy episodes as they turn 25, so soon we'll be doing season 4, probably around the time this is coming out or a little bit after. We did seasons 3, 2, and 1. We're doing Batman the Animated Series and X-Men the Animated Series. We have watch-alongs over Zoom and Zoom Hangouts and a Discord that is usually pretty poppin'. Any and all support is much appreciated. All right, what did we think of this episode? This is one of my favorite Angel episodes. I just love it. Brett, I'm curious, because I don't actually know all your Angel opinions. I am curious what you thought.
Hey, at this point, I don't even remember most of my Angel opinions. I mean, it's probably been a good 15 years since I watched this episode for the last time. I also am hungover, so my voice is wild. No, I mean, so like when I think about Angel, because the last one that I did was the season premiere, which I think we all agreed was like kind of a meh. Like It was like, okay, well, I mean, this is fine. But when I think about Angel, I think this is the vibe that I remember. Like this is the mode. I mean, peak Angel, honestly. Like I don't remember a lot of the lows of seasons 1 and 2, but I do remember like this kind of high of like mixing. Like they kind of Angel did a really good job of hitting these prophetic, apocalyptic, everything is so dire, the stakes are so high, status quos, and then just riding them out for a very long time. Whereas Buffy, has more of an ebb and flow of like, this is a fun episode. So like this having that, great cast, everyone's doing something, big moments, prophecies, bureaucracy. Really good, really good.
Ian, you have been on for this mini arc, the entirety of this mini arc. I have been torturing you, but I was happy to find out you liked this episode, right?
Oh, I love this episode. Yeah, I'm not going to go back too much, but I think if you compare the previous episode to this one and the flavor and tone and realize it's all the same story. It's the same arc. It's the same beats. It's the same story. I think this episode does a better job, more articulate job of explaining why I struggled with the last one than I could actually verbalize during our discussion. This episode's terrific. It's one of the peaks in the series. When you think about Angel the show, you think about a handful of plot points and events, and this episode is definitely one of them. I think I enjoyed it more this time than I ever have. I find pregnancy stories kind of frustrating, rather mystical pregnancy stories, and Angel has a ton of mystical pregnancy stories. So that got calibrated, and I was like, okay, well, let's just see what this has to give. I thought it was really a wonderful, dramatic little send-off between Darla and Angel. There's to make us care about that romantic relationship, which has mostly just been Oedipal and disgusting up to this point in the series. I thought was really well done. I loved it.
Alastair, what'd you think? Alastair, was it you that told me that like this was one of your favorite like Angel arcs?
Actually, I think that you're confusing me with Zach, possibly. Because I know I was watching this with Zach, and he's like, this is one of my favorite episodes.
Oh.
And I was like, that's interesting, because I hate this episode. And when I was first watching Angel, I love this episode, but I think that the whole Connor of it all just like really just stinks it up for me. So I that's what's in my head the entire time. Plus, Lorne, he needs to get better friends.
I feel like Lorne of all of them, it's like would make very much sense if he was like, I really never want to see you people again.
At this point, Lorne needs to turn into the big bad and just like
Like
blow
you've
up the hotel.
destroyed my bar so many times.
Yeah, I forgot I mean, this may be the fifth or the sixth time that I've watched this episode. I forgot part of that journey after the mystical pregnancy stuff was knowing where this is going. And that I'm not a fan of where all this leads to, but I think this time just enjoying it individually for what it is and the drama of the episode itself. I really got a lot more out of it than I normally do.
Alistair, now that you say that, I'm like, God fucking damn it. It probably was Zach, because I actually thought, I should bring Zach on for this episode. Like, he's only going to do like 2, but then I was like, no, I want to bring Alistair on because Alistair loves this. And then I fucking clearly fucked up.
Yeah, we were talking about that while we were watching, and he said he wrote some comments on my phone. He's like, say this at the end of the episode for me. And I was like, okay, cool.
I really like every time I try to do something without asking first, I usually do this where like I end up reversing it or messing it up. Well, I was trying to do a nice Alistair, but
and I'll be honest, I'm usually super positive in all these episodes.
Yeah,
but
I think it's nice to have the counterpoint. I got to be the lone gunman or the lone negative the last episode, so I think it's I like having both sides of the opinion here. I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
So I need you both, the three of you, to know where my brain is. I just reread my opening line. Oh my God. It says, we open where we left off. Angel is face to face with Trump. And that's not like a joke or anything. It's just my brain wrote that because, that's where my brain is. We open and he is face to face with Holtz. We open where we left off.
You?
I know. I wonder what I probably like also had Twitter on my phone open as I was like typing this note. The demon goons have captured Angel in one of those like metal neck thingies. That's kind of like they use them for like animals, don't they?
Yeah.
I like that. I kind of like that Angel is telling him he's changed, but also is just kind of like not bothering, right? Like Angel's kind of like, yeah, I've changed. Yeah. Like he knows arguing with him is mostly pointless.
Well, he also specifically interrupts Lila when Lila starts to mention what the curse is. Yeah. Which I think is great. I think the way the scene plays, he's there to save Holtz's soul, or rather his interest is Holtz's soul, not his own, which I and probably his son's. I like the way that the scene plays for that reason.
Yeah. Is there like maybe a bit of self-loathing too of like, if this information is... with Angel, obviously. No, like, if this information is revealed, that could give Holtz reason to not kill me, but I feel so bad about what I did to him that clearly he should he should get whatever. Okay, my cat is going to be a supporting player in this episode.
That's okay.
Gene, stay right there.
lots of times people's cats are supporting co-hosts.
Yeah. I completely agree with you, Brett, about that. I was noticing like throughout that first part, him not mentioning, his soul, him not mentioning any of that. And you really have to bring Lila in there.
Yeah.
To kind of give that extra bit of information to Holt.
Yeah. Yeah. I Holtz throws the holy water on him, sees that he's still a vampire, and Holtz is kind of like, that's all I need to know. And while I do like that Angel's like, we kind of breeze by, which again is a thing that Buffyverse does really well. Angel's just like, oh, that's why you look so well rested. And then we don't really it's just like, yeah, he's here. There's like whatever, one line of exposition, doesn't fucking matter. And we're going back and forth. We go back. Well, for the opening, we then go to Darla, who is, as Gunn says, about to pop right there in the car. Wes is worried about the prophecies, and Cordelia says something like, women have been giving birth without prophecy, ancient prophecies for years. I
loved this scene because this was, hi everybody, this is Gene Parmesan. No, I love this scene because it gave all four of them like something to do, which was really cool because again, like the season premiere was like, oh, I love Fred. she doesn't do anything in this episode except to have a weird Southern accent. But like actually having this scene where it's like Gunn saying what is the obvious truth, Wesley's high mind thinking about prophecy, Cordelia's cutting through that bullshit, and then Fred is there with the actual like biological facts of like we have to do XYZ.
Fred is
was like
here.
Oh, this is like the birth of a great A team is what we should call that. What they should have called.
And like. Man, Julie Benz's acting in this scene is like throughout
it's so
the whole
sweet.
episode. I love it. I love seeing Darla. So Alastair, you don't love this, so I'm curious what you think, because like the thing I was saying that Julie Benz really achieves is we still know she's bad. Like we know this woman has murdered people. You know, we get a little bit in this episode that like she's feeling the baby's soul. That's maybe why she feels bad, but like I do feel bad for her. And like, I think Julie Benz does a good job of like, this is a serial killer, but also you still a little bit feel bad for her.
Well, I feel really bad for anybody who's a victim of mystical pregnancy, really. But Julie Benz is honestly the high point of this episode. Anytime Julie Benz is in an episode, I think she knocks it out of the park. And it's really sad that this is kind of the closing of her chapter for the Buffyverse.
Yeah.
So that's also another downer, really, for the episode for me.
The switch from "I Don't Breathe" to her sort of softly weeping in the back of the car is appropriately heartbreaking. It's a wonderful emotional turn. Again, humorous. It's amusing. It's funny, but it's within that whole tone of everything that's happening. It fits right well after the scene with Holtz. Really just brilliant.
The great moment of like when they all get in the car and it's like all four of them get in the front seat. And this is again like moment of like all of this makes total perfect sense in terms of like the reality of the scene, everyone's personalities, and then her being like, no one wants to sit next to me. And then, well, you know, the water did break all over the back seat.
Yeah.
So, and it was like, that is a funny moment.
It's so good.
It doesn't take away from the severity or the stakes of it all. And it fits right in with all their characters, and you kind of need those moments in an episode like this.
Yeah.
And then Fred is also trying to reassure her, saying, "It's not that we don't trust you, but we don't trust you."
Yeah. But also, when she's like, "I won't throw anyone out of the car while it's moving," like Darla being all over the place, like it does make sense, and it makes even more sense when they give more explanation to the pregnancy, that she's like kind of feeling the soul, and like, you know. I mean, like, I think Cordelia even says, well, her hormones are going crazy. And like in a regular pregnancy, you would probably be insane going through all this where it's like people are hunting you. But like, she's also a vampire and like feeling new feelings she hasn't felt in like hundreds of years.
No one has.
Right.
As the only vampire mother.
Right. And I actually like the visual of her, like, of her kicking and punching everyone when they're at the car. To show us also like, oh, right, she's also really strong and like extra strong because of the pregnancy. And like you said, I like the, like, she turns into a vampire, is like, I don't breathe, punches them all, and then just sobs. And I was like, girl, I get you. Like, that's how I feel most days. Post credits we get, which is the only things that are a little like for me, are the flashbacks, because it's like, we got it. I don't know. I feel like other than Holtz throwing his daughter into the sun, I didn't really need any of these. Like,
I think it's fantastic. The two. I mean, in Buffy and Angel as a whole, the two moments that I think for horror shows, the two moments I think that come to mind as the most actually horrifying. Number one is the scene with Drew, and seeing Angel torturing her in the chapel, I think hits harder than most of the other things. But this bit with the child and him sort of sitting, it's a wonderful performance. I had to look up his name, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing it. Keith Zarbaka?
Yeah, I don't know how to say it.
Zarabaka, who plays Holtz. His sort of singing to her and just gives us a hint of the grief right at the end of that sequence, and then taking her out into the sunshine. Like we said in the last episode, I think cements Holtz as a empathetic bad guy. no matter what happens going forward, and he does some terrible things going forward, we understand, we've seen his heart. We understand where he's coming from. And I think that there are misses in some of the flashbacks, but this one definitely isn't for me.
Yeah, I think it gives us his utmost motivation on it, because we've known that he's been hunting them down forever. We've had other flashbacks with Holtz in them, but with this one, especially with them splitting it up into two different flashbacks. First, you see it's his daughter who's alive, and then the mother who's dead, and then having the reveal at the end with the daughter. I think that was nice.
The thing that I do like is that we're not shying away from. And like Darla even says it towards the end when she's like, we just did horrible things.
We did terrible things.
Never going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I really, I mean, Ian, we talked about this last episode. How like sometimes certain shippers will forget certain things, but I like that the shows never forget those things. Like the show, we love Angel. He's the main character, whatever, but the show's not trying to like make you feel bad for him in any other way than this sucks right now for him. Not like, well, it's just like, he was terrible and he murdered his whole family.
Well, but that also really sucks for Darla, for that to be her last moment, regretting like the 400 years of her vampiric life, of all the amazing but horrible things that she's done.
Yeah.
I want her to be proud of that.
He did some great murders.
And the other thing too I love is that scene serves a dual function of showing us Holtz's motivation and contextualizing their final conversation in the alley, to show the cruelty of turning the child so that Holtz had to be the one to kill her, speaks to the legacy of Angelus and Darla together.
Yeah.
And so to show that evil and then to have her want to leave something good in the world at the end of the episode, which where it goes after is a different conversation, but I think that opening helps land the emotional beat in the alley at the end of the scene in a way that just telling us that Angel and Darla were infamous really would not.
Yeah. I gotta say, this is the first time. I mean, I guess I knew the connection, but I didn't really think that much of it. I kind of always read it as Holtz was like, well, I don't want to kill a baby, so I'm going to torture that baby or like turn that baby fully against him. Not quite being like, he's just doing exactly what Angelus did to him, where it's like, oh, I'm going to make your child so you have to kill your child, or your child kills you. I guess I never really thought that much about the parallel there, and that's what it is. Yeah.
Fate gave Holtz a whole new
approach.
Yeah. Because Holtz didn't know, right? Until like close to the end of this episode. He didn't even know Darla was pregnant, right?
No, because that's kind of like a running joke with like what's his name? Shahjahan or whatever.
Shahjahan, yeah.
Nope, I told you everything. And then smash cut right to Darla's stomach.
The other thing that's interesting about Angel and Holtz's conversation is Angel says an important line, which is, there's no justice for the things I did to you. Eventually Holtz is where his pursuit of justice, we understand his pursuit of vengeance, which was he's the Romani curse manifest, the Uncle Romani stereotype from the first season or second season of Buffy, saying, "It is not justice we serve; it is vengeance."
Yeah,
and I think it's really interesting to base a character around that, and his journey from justice to vengeance is wonderful.
As always, Ian, that's a very smart point. I hadn't even really thought about that, but once you said it, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That is kind of what he is. It's like the curses, it's something from, back when they did all these murders, coming back to like fuck up his life. We go to Wolfram and Hart. The wacky lawyers are discussing Holtz. The thing I want to point out, this scene is whatever. Ian, we talked about the new boss. Brett, Alastair, I don't know. It drives me nuts that new boss just pops up last episode and he's like,
How long does he stay around? I did not remember him.
He doesn't stay around for long. None of their bosses stay around for long. I wouldn't want to be their boss.
I think the beast kills him in season 4, if I remember correctly.
Wait, doesn't this guy get his head chopped off, or did that already happen to one of the other guys?
The fact that we can't remember, I think.
A very a visual memory of like them at a conference table in Wolfram and Hart and a thing coming up and chopping off a guy's head and it rolling down the table.
So the actor who played Bernard on Lost was also on Angel, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was the Wolfram and Hart head then.
Yeah, Holland. Holland Manners was the best of the best. Everything else has been diet generic Holland Manners.
Because Holland Manners,
lovely seeing Daniel Day Kim.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, I mean, always.
Brett, that's funny because Holland Manners is who he's the boss. Like I think, but I know we get a bunch of different bosses, but he's who I picture when I think of the Wolfram and Hart boss. Even though Darla and Drusilla killed him last season, but yeah, we get this new boss, and it's kind of like that is one of the few failures of Wolfram and Hart, I think, is they really should have like given us an ensemble almost the way they did with season 7 or season 1, where like there's kind of a different lawyer every time, but then the like twitchy gay Twinkie lawyer pops up again and then eventually dies, but then Lila pops up and Lindsay, and like that's what they should have been doing, I think, is like having these like random lawyers, but they are like, oh, we see this lady again, we see this guy again, but it doesn't always have. Like, Lila could be the main focus because she is clearly the most dynamic, but...
Oh, yeah. Make her
I think
the
it would have
boss.
been cool to have, like, a... Yeah, I know. I think
Making
I said
her
that
the
last
boss would have been great.
Yeah, like, just, like, make her the head of Wolfram and Hart of this branch, and, like, that makes sense. She'd be a great boss. She would be so ruthless. The boss tells them he knows nothing about this, and the thing I wanted to point out that I love is when Gavin says to Lila, they'll crucify us, and she says, they don't do crucifixion here, it's too Christian.
That's such a good line.
It is. And then we cut to Angel looking like he's being crucified.
Oh, there's a lot of good smash cuts in this.
Yeah. I feel like that's a very, like, Buffyverse cut. Right.
Well, Lila has such Emma Frost energy to me. She would be a great Emma Frost if she was blonde, you know?
Yeah. No, Brett, I thought she would be a character you love. I feel like she's like very.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot she existed until I watched this episode. I was like, oh man, yeah, I loved her.
Yeah, she's one of my favorite. I feel like she's maybe the most underrated because like she's so good, but she doesn't get talked about a lot with like.
Yeah, her and Kate. JK.
Kate.
Kate is like, I think I might hate Kate more than I hate Connor almost. Because at least Connor has more of a reason. I don't know. Question mark.
I think that's one of the reasons why I think Lila suffers from not getting an arc.
Yeah.
Or not getting Lindsay had episodes dedicated to him. He had Blind Date and a couple of other ones. It's one of the reasons why I kind of enjoy the Wes Lila stuff later on is it gives her someone to play off of in a regular way. And yeah, the my boyfriend bit feels redundant. I mean, it's one of the struggles with Angel's writing when it comes to its women is so many of their stories are based on men as opposed to based on their own characters and motivations and desires for redemption.
Yeah.
However, I still find her more interesting when she has someone to play with, and it ain't Gavin, unfortunately.
Yeah, no. That man is so handsome, but no, it's just, we cut to the hotel where Angel looks like he's being crucified. Angel's kind of telling Holtz what we talked about. He's basically like, I'm trying to save your soul because this will destroy it. Holtz, he says something like, I forget. I thought I put it in my notes. Oh, he says that Darla's who they need to get because she's the unpredictable one. Angel was always predictable. And I like that we're cutting between like them and the Scoobies, right? Or the Angel Investigations team.
I like the A-team. For some, and all the time that we've been talking about this, I've never heard them referred to as the A-team, Brett. That's great.
That is really good.
It's been right in front of us the whole time.
I know. Took till season 3 of Angel before we got there for Brett to put in his little.
Well, I mean, it also took the writers until season 3 to get there. I mean, we don't get an ensemble until now.
That is also true. I like when they like wake Wes up and they just see Darla's like babbling in the car. They even when they ask her if she's okay to travel, she's just like, and like a panicked head nod, which again, I like that it's like all these uncharacteristic but make sense things that she's doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when we get the moment of like, no one gonna sit with me. They see they're surrounded by demons, and Holt says they have Angel's girlfriend, but who do the goons bring in, Alastair?
Oh gosh.
Quiz.
Wait,
We were just talking about her.
it's just the goon. Wait, Lila.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lila. Yeah, because we're back at Angel.
Yeah.
I was
My
still
favorite-
on the street with them when you were saying that.
My favorite moment of the episode, maybe, is them like throwing holy water on her and just being like, "You're not even a vampire. Like, what are you?"
I
love
She's
that.
like,
Has
but I
an
am
all-
evil.
She has an all-time classic Lila line.
hit me. What is it?
Oh, I said I'm a lawyer. I don't care about the law.
That is Lila in this scene again. She's so
She's got
good.
so many good lines in this.
This whole scene of her being like, kind of like, the fuck, like, yeah, kill him. I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
you killed all my henchmen. I still don't care. Like, I love when he tells her he says something like they died fighting an honorable death, and she's like, all right, like, fucking whatever.
It's one of my favorite just tropes of this entire kind of genre of like the very stereotypical like the blood shall run blah blah
Yeah.
meeting up with the like, okay, tone it down, you know, like,
Yeah.
like the mismatching of tones. I love that. So like Lila in this scene with Holt is just great.
Brett, I was talking about that with when Sajan first appeared. 'Cause I said he did he's kind of like the convergence of both those things.
Yeah.
Because he looks like he'd be that type of guy, but then is just like smoking a cigarette, kind of annoyed. And I consistently say that like other shows have tried to capture that, but haven't done it as well as Buffy and Angel did.
Yeah,
he
because
gives
like every
Skip
character
vibes.
kind of has that.
Yeah.
Thinking about the retcon in 4, I wonder if Sajan was supposed to be Skip.
Mm.
And maybe they couldn't get Roy for I hate calling actors by their characters' names from other shows, but I can't remember the actor who played Roy from The Office, who is Skip.
Yeah.
The demon that was imprisoning Billy.
Yeah.
But it would make like that would kind of flatten out one of the things about the retcon is if Skip was the one kind of behind this the whole time. And as you said, Sajan and Skip share things in common of being these sort of gothic horror demons that are that always subvert our expectations, you know.
That have the same energy of like Norm from Cheers, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Or Roy from The Office.
Yeah.
You know, this
like
sweet,
Cable.
gentle guy.
David
But it's
Denman.
the
That's
parallels
crazy. I didn't know he
between the
played
two
him.
of them.
Jesus.
Yeah, David
What's his name?
Denman.
Oh, David
David
Denman.
Denman.
That's right. That's right.
insane.
Alistair, what were you? I heard you actually just mentioned Skip too, right? You were saying.
Oh
that they
yeah,
had
I
the
was just
same
saying that he
energy?
was giving Skip vibes. You know,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hadn't
yeah,
thought about the
yeah.
parallels.
Demons in like the modern world. What would they be doing? Watching cable? You know, like
Yeah,
Hey,
and I mean,
Smoking
right?
cigarettes.
Yeah,
yeah, smoking cigarettes.
I still continually forget that he's supposed to be incorporeal. I do have a question for everyone in the class. Is it that he's incorporeal and only Holtz can see him? Or like he's just incorporeal, but he's like a ghosty and everyone can see him?
IDK.
Yeah,
I don't
because
know.
when he comes out in the rain, it feels like no one else can like hear or see him, but also like maybe they're just not looking or not caring because there's a million other things going on. I couldn't.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Honestly, they might just be like, "Oh, that's just another demon." Because
True, they're
there's
like,
a lot
"We're-"
of demons in this episode.
Yeah.
So.
I guess.
I-
Yeah.
I think his power is whatever the plot needs it to be. It's
Yeah.
one of those things.
Fair. Yeah. So they realize that they are surrounded. Lila comes in and I love all of the stuff. I love when she calls Holt, so she's like, "Oh, you're a good guy." Like that feels so like silly, but also makes sense. Like to
Mhm.
her, he's coming off as like this, like you said, Brett. It's like he's the like noble ancient blah blah blah, and she's like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I Lila. The thing that Stephanie Romanoff does really well is Lila not being pressed, and I love that.
Mhm.
Like she's kind of just like what can I get out of this situation? Like, that is how she is seeing this situation.
You have to imagine that as a lawyer at Wolfram and Hart, Lila's 9 to 5 every single day is filled with just this.
The shit.
And it's fun to think of like, oh man, like she's dealing with at least 4 apocalypses all at once, multiple prophecies, billing hours to demons. And like, this is just one of the things she has to do today, you know?
She's like, I got a meeting with Dracula in 10 minutes. Can we speed this up?
Oh God.
I want to know what her anti-anxiety medication is.
I feel like it would do wonders for
Yeah,
either of us,
right.
Alastair. I would definitely watch, like, you mentioning, Ian, that like Lindsay got his own episode. I would have watched a like day in the life of Wolfram and Hart.
100%. Yeah. That's something that in shows that there's one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation is.
I know what episode you mentioned.
Star Trek did something that I wish, or rather specifically The Next Generation did something that I wish all other shows did, which is there's an episode called Lower Decks and there is an episode called Data's Day. And they are day in the life episodes where almost nothing happens. Data's Day is Data reading his itinerary for the day. All right, I'm taking step classes because I'm emceeing a wedding and I'm doing this, that, and the other thing. And that episode happens to have an adventure in the background. And Lower Decks is not about any of the main cast. It's all ensigns and I love seeing because the Enterprise is a unique location in storytelling. It's a utopia that you want to be on when you watch that show. And so I love seeing day in the life episodes where nothing happens. And I wish for every character-driven ensemble show that I fall in love with, I tend to just wish there was an episode where we saw Buffy going to class all day. And her biggest problem was her essay that she had to read in front of class for the day.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I do like the slice of life, like when they do that. But I do think that the Buffyverse shows mix up the slice of life with like
they do,
overall like mini plot points while continuing it for like the entire season. So I'm not too upset about that, but I think that we should have gotten more slice of life, I think, from Wolfram and Hart.
Well, so Ian, the thing I thought you were going to specifically reference is the Lower Decks episode, because I love like point of view of characters that are just side characters, and Star Trek and Buffy both did that really well. Of like, Star Trek didn't always do it well because usually that character died in 3 episodes, but like they were good at like, here is like in the Lower Decks episode, I remember it's like half characters we had seen and half characters that are just made up for that episode. Like I remember Nurse, I can't remember her last name, begins with an O. Ogawa, yes.
Yeah.
She's in that. She's one of the main characters of that episode, and she had been in a bunch as just like Dr. Crusher's nurse assistant.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of shit I love. And like the original series had the nurse in that too, who like popped up every once in a while, was played by, and the ensign was played by Majel Barrett. And like, I love shit like that when we can have like a character that's like kind of there sometimes, but like can get, and like, the
other thing is it gives the cast a break.
Yes,
during shooting, it serves a practical purpose for production, in that the main cast doesn't have to can take some time off. Another one of my favorites is in Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's the 4 stories episode, I think it is, where it's just short stories with the main characters. They get their makeup done and they're in a slam poetry contest, and Iroh goes through the city helping people while he's grieving his son, and nothing happens except for these little things. But we love these characters so much more. They're moments of pure character, and it would have been nice. Anyway, that little bit of a tangent.
The thing I was like, there was something that I know Alastair and I like that I was going to bring up. Alastair, because you are a Lost girly like me, right?
Yes, I love Lost.
So the thing I don't know if you know what I'm going to bring up. I will defend the Nikki and Paolo episode of Lost for every reason we just stated.
I love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't
I was
understand the
sad
hate
that
against.
we didn't get more of them afterwards.
Yeah,
honestly.
I liked them. I liked the idea of that was a thing that Lost did not do well. Was like everyone had to be a main plot point and or die and or go missing. But there was like a ton of people, and I always kept thinking, well, so many of them had died. There can't be that many more left. But there would always be like 10 extras that were like also with them
in the background.
And so, yeah, I liked that Nikki and Paolo, the joke that season was like, who are you? Like Sawyer said that to them so many times. And I loved that because it was like, great, yes, give us side characters that they see every once in a while. They don't fucking remember. That makes sense. There's so many people on this island and we're consistently being told there's not a lot of people, but so many of them die and there's still so many left. I love that we had them and I fucking hated the way they died only because it was like, but come on, that's like torturous horror movie death being buried alive just because like people didn't like them.
So if we had like Lila's interns, doing the cleanup, afterwards, and them complaining about
who's
it.
the paralegals there? Who's typing up her minutes or whatever? Like,
but yes, that's my Lost Nikki and Paolo rant that I'm sure people will not love. Holtz and Lila or whatever, and Angel tells Lila to duck, finds a grenade.
The grenade mouth catch is wonderfully cheesy. It's so silly. And usually I don't go in for that. I think in this particular case, the thing that sells it for me is Angel telling Lila to get down. Just that moment of consideration for another human being, because maybe he doesn't know what Holtz is at this point.
Right, yeah.
I think
he knows Lila,
Yeah. I really like that bit.
It's so stupid. I love it. It's
so dumb.
Fast and Furious moment. Like it's so. I was like, why doesn't he just explode? But like, how could he count that the propulsion would be?
I was going to say that, Brett. Right. Like, wouldn't he have just blown up? Like, they treat it like it's like a weird, like.
Was it a concussion grenade? What are those? Are concussion grenades real?
Alastair, can you tell us?
Well, so it depends if did he bite it where the pin is?
He bit the pin out of it. Why, yanked it.
Well, but the pin holds it together, right? So without the pin, it'll get the oxygen in order to explode. So if he bites it where the pin and the spoon is supposed to be, then it should not explode.
Yeah, him being blasted backwards into the wall is probably a little bit much, but for the force
Looney
of it,
Tunes. Outline of Angel.
Exactly.
My notes, I want you to know my notes say he blows himself into a Wile E. Coyote looking hole in the elevator door.
So great, it's great.
For some reason, it works for me, and I'm not clear why. Because some of that in other episodes, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. But this one, I'm just like, okay.
I think like if you're doing everything else in this episode is firing on all cylinders and like all the verisimilitude or whatever is like, it is so like the motivations and like the characters and the dialogue is also good. I think that buys you some leeway to do a stupid thing like that because because a thing like him telling Lila to get down, all the stuff with Holtz, like you get, I don't know, it's like kind of like a nice little like release of tension in a way.
Nice. And I just saw the scene again because it's playing also in the background. So he does grab it by the pin, and then he releases the pin like that, and that's why it explodes.
Yeah.
So, but it goes like, doesn't it like at his feet?
It's at his feet. But
it should have just. I mean, really, it should have just blown his legs off. But I'm fine with it.
I again want to
look cool.
I like. Alistair, did it bother you?
No.
How like goofy it was? No. Okay.
No, because I
feel like also you could be like, hey, he's a vampire, doesn't blow up the same way, or like
the other great thing too is so this is one's written and directed by Tim Minear. He had to make the decision to go there. He's like, I mean, you could have had one of the walrus demons get distracted or wave at a fly or whatever. And Angel uses this as his opportunity to shake loose and escape and run out the door. But no, we're doing a grenade mouth catch in slow motion. I love it. Yeah.
It's kind of in a way
I guess
like
he couldn't like knead it away from him. You know, like
true.
yeah.
like down knee. You know,
Yeah, true.
So good.
But so yeah, he gets blown back, and then that's when Holtz kind of like does his posturing with Lila, and she's like, "All right, yeah, go ahead." Like, great. And then she goes and finds the
sneaks away with the prophecy
for the Niazian scroll.
yeah. She calls the cleanup team. She's like, "Yeah, I got a job for you, intern or whoever I'm calling right now. Yeah, full cleanup."
I like and again, how often does she have to do that, right? Like, well, we have another like demon bloodbath, some bunch of dead humans, blah, blah, blah.
Do you think she invoices Angel Investigations
right
afterwards?
Oh, she bills. Yeah.
She absolutely keeps on top of those invoices. So they leave, and we see Darla and the gang kind of fighting and not doing so great. Darla jumps in the car. I love that she runs over the demons, and then like she's like, I'm gonna kill the demons before I go because they're pissing me off. Not because she like cares that much to save everybody, but like knows the demons will attack her, right? Like, I don't think she's trying to be like noble and save everybody.
The demons annoyed her, so they died.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I just like when she backs up and runs the other one over.
Ending with, what are we looking at?
Yeah.
Which is a great punctuation.
Also, those demons immediately disappear because I guess it would be too bloody to show.
Yeah, the wide cut. I looked for that. I was like, there's no... all right, whatever.
Yeah. All right. We see Lila back at Wolfram and Hart. She's getting the prophecies looked at by another rando creepy prophecy translator guy. I do like... Again, this is like an interesting thing they do with Wolfram and Hart, where this guy is like, oh, did you have blah, 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 look at it? He's trying to steal my job. Like, but like, and it's so nothing that we don't need, but I like it. Like, I like
that's office work.
Yeah.
That's life.
I like that even this like demon law firm has like competing people for promotions and shit like that.
And she's even like, and you better have this done by morning or we will kill your family. And it's just fun to be like, that's just like part of the onboarding at Wolfram and Hart is like, hey, now we need your wife. We need work address, her family's just because we have to, the sniper's going to have to be trained on her a couple times a week just for deadlines.
She went to the top with that because she could have been like, you better have it by the morning, or one, I will have your job, or you better have it, or you're not going to have a job. She's like, no, I'm going to kill your family.
Or even like, I will kill you. But no, instead it's, I'll kill your family. Like, and I like him being like, you highlighted a Niazian scroll. And she's like, in yellow.
In yellow. And then when they show it later, it is highlighted.
Yeah.
It's just great.
That was me working at the Met. I'm like, yeah, I touched it. Who cares? I just had pizza for lunch. We cut back to Sajan and Holtz. Brett, I think you mentioned this earlier. So Holtz is pissed that he didn't know about Angel's soul.
This is a cool little reversal because for a while, like, Sajan's like, it doesn't make a difference. Just kill him. Oh, and then you realize, no, like, Holtz is mad that he didn't get the info because hunting Angel with a soul is different than hunting Angelus without a soul. So this totally fucked up his plan.
He has a line he says, releasing his soul to suffer for all eternity only makes this more just. Huh?
You're right. That doesn't make sense. I don't.
Because it'll hurt Angel more, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, again, I think this...
what you need to, Halt, see?
I think this is the transition from him being sort of a spirit of justice to a spirit of vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that makes sense from a vengeful perspective. There's nothing particularly just about it, and that scene is valuable because we see like there is an ethical dilemma with killing a souled individual, and he doesn't have that ethical dilemma. So this is I think an important scene for us, sort of reading him as vengeance, not justice. But that line confused me.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it, but you're right. That
I guess I'll also mention that, how I talked in the season premiere that I was like, I didn't find Holtz attractive. Okay, well, I'm reneging on that. It's kind of doing it for me. My penchant for pudgy old men is getting me there. I don't know.
Brett,
I can't help it.
I love when you throw me for a loop with like who you find attractive.
God damn it! I wasn't expecting, but there's just something. I don't know. A haircut and a shave would be good. I don't like the goatee. Goatees are bad. He's too. No, he looks too much like he's like Three Musketeers cosplaying sometimes.
Yes,
but
yes.
you know, the vibe I'm there for.
It's the voice.
Yeah, great voice.
Yeah, the voice is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a good voice, but
he's
Alistair,
he's a fascinating casting choice because, like I said, the premiere of like. He's not hot. Like they could have cast Daniel Day Kim as a Holtz,
right,
you know. It's wild to me that they were like, we need a character that has a hundreds-year vengeance, like bloodlust for Angel, and who we're going to cast this 48-year-old man, stage actor. It's so interesting to me.
Well,
like Giles is that, but Anthony Stewart Head is conventionally hot. You know, I just love it.
Maybe he's supposed to evoke his father. That's the only thing I can think of is the casting specifically might be to evoke Angel's father. I'm sorry, Alistair, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's no problem. You know what? I previously wouldn't have found him attractive, but this watch through, I think his conviction is what's attractive. I like that he's a man that gets things done.
What is wrong with all of you? What?
There are no good Buffyverse relationships.
Fair enough. I do like the Sajan.
He's a loving father.
I like Sajan having the twist of like when he realizes Holtz is only mad because it changed how he hunted him, and he's like, "Oh, yeah.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Like, we're good. Okay."
Because do we think that he would have just killed Angel at the end instead of like spared him?
I think he might.
I think that made that decision for him. I think this was a decision point for him.
Yeah, I think like finding out about the baby, he learned like, oh, not only can I make him have to do what I had to do, but also he has a soul now, so he'll be upset like I was. Yeah, it wouldn't be like, because if he did that to Angelus, right? Angelus would have just been like, well, the baby came out, let me eat it. Like, I don't think he would have given a shit.
Little does Holtz know that he's going to have to spend 15 years in a hell dimension with Connor. Like, that's the worst punishment of all. You don't know what you're getting yourself into.
So yeah, I do like is there anything else you have to tell me? And we close up on Sajan's face like, tee-hee. No.
You know what? I take it back. He's not attractive because he made Connor who he is. That's very unattractive.
I do like how much because Alistair, you are normally like the most positive. So I like that it affects you that much that you retroactively don't like the other things.
Yeah, but everybody else is making such good points. I'm starting to like the episode more, which makes me angry at all of y'all.
When do we all think? Because I think Connor in season 3 works and is like a really good, tight story. Again,
and
he's only in these episodes in 20 years. It's the season 4 stuff where it gets like, oh boy.
No, I agree.
Do we hate Connor because of season 4 or also because of season 3?
Also because of his haircut.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wait. Now I'm going to throw you all off because I had the biggest crush on Connor back then.
Obviously.
Like,
look at him.
Because I know I'm so unpredictable, but I had such a crush on Connor back when this aired. Like I thought
Moody
he looked
with some Jonathan Taylor Thomas hair, like
he looked. No. He's a little bit dirty. He looks like he could have been in like a punk band I would have liked as a teen. Like
it is wild how he becomes Pete Campbell and he becomes so famous for Mad Men, and I felt like one of the few people was like, you guys. Angel, crazy. This is a wild transition for this actor to me to reframe him in my mind.
Connor's just so one note is my struggle with him in a show that is built on character depth and arcs and motivation and all of that. And whenever you put an opinion out onto social media, there is a whole set of every opinion exists,
Right.
and the counterpoint / attack is just so you have no empathy for abuse victims. It wasn't his fault. He was it's Holtz's fault. He did all of that. You have no empathy for this character. It's like, no, I have tons of empathy for him. He's just not fun.
Yeah,
he's just not interesting.
It's not the character, it's the writing, and it's
this is not a real person.
Yeah.
This is a character written in an entertainment television show.
Well, and wait, so I think, Alastair, you and I tend to be a little bit more on the like, well, I feel bad for this person. So I feel like if you and I are like, no,
like even season 3, like he's annoying. He's more annoying than Dawn was season 5. And Dawn, going back and watching it, like I learned to love her annoying side, and really love how she just cried about everything. But Connor, no, I can't.
Yeah.
Well, and to know that with the season 3 finale that it was all a trick and he was part of the manipulation the whole time, I think invalidates. He's a sociopath at this point, because it invalidates any warm, loving scenes that may have occurred, warm and loving from him, because he was just, being a manipulative twerp the entire season.
On that, I have such trouble reconciling the two, because it's so clear that was not their. I read something where they're like, oh, that was always our plan. And I'm like, there's no way that was always their plan, because it doesn't line up, and it totally undercuts the really good storytelling in season 3 with the not so great storytelling in season 4.
Yeah, the season 3 finale is a disaster on multiple levels, not just because of Connor.
Yes,
it
agreed.
breaks one of the greatest characters in the series. There's more reasons to struggle with the season 3 finale than just Connor, but he didn't help.
Right. And I will say, watching it, when I watched it live, I remember watching that. Like, that is one of the scenes of Angel I remember watching live and being like, what the fuck? When like Cordelia's floating up and Angel's sinking down. And I was kind of like a little bit forgiving of Connor until that moment where I was like, well, he didn't have it rough. Well, and then it was like, nope, I hate him now. Like,
yeah, I'm done. It's funny. We all have breaking point. Like, there are people that consider some of Spike's actions unforgivable, and they lose the character at that point. Right. Like, there's some for Angel. Connor's one of the few that there's one particular event, and I'm like, this is just not. I'm out. Yeah. I'm tapping out completely.
Yeah. That's what the writer said after season 4 too.
Really? Getting back to the episode, we cut back to pregnant Darla and Angel on a rooftop. I feel like when she has her breakdown, Julie Benz is like, oh, you want some acting? I'm going to give you some fucking acting.
It's my last episode. I'm going out.
I'm going to
with a bang.
Do it. Yeah, like this scene would be dull with not as great an actor as she is, because I feel like, they're just kind of being angsty, but like she really sells all of the Darla of it all, where it's like, not only is this like shitty for her in every way you can see, but also like mentally it is like breaking her apart. And it's like being someone who she never as Darla wanted a soul. Like, I mean,
Darla, and now she has one. And so there's also the annoyance of like, I fucking have this goddamn soul. But then there's also the fact, well, now I have a soul. And so now I know the soul is tied with this thing, and whatever it's out of me, I'm not going to love the baby. And right now, forcibly sold me loves this baby. And I don't know, like it's so many layers of,
it's so manipulative in Connor's part.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a shit. From in utero, he's doing this.
The only thing that bothered me, which I will fight against, is Angelus and Darla did love each other. I don't know why they consistently go back and forth with that, because she says like, I've never loved anything. And he's like, yeah, you've never loved anything before. And it's like, no. You were serial killers that did love each other. You didn't care if you killed each other, but also I do think in the way that they did love each other. Like,
it was a different kind of love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't a groovy kind of love.
It was
that Phil Collins sang about.
Yeah. I think that Drew and Spike have a romantic love.
Yeah.
And because of all the Oedipus of it, I find the Darla Angel relationship to be very maternal. The kind of relationship there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they could be, for headcanon's sake, be commenting on we weren't in love with each other. It wasn't a romantic love.
True.
Well, also, even when Darla was a human for that little brief spell, she wasn't like wanting to have a soul. She was like still kind
She's
of like
very Darla. Yeah.
I mean, I just don't think Darla, even as a human, even Darla before the master turned her, was like that good of a person. You know, she even said, "Hey, you know, I have no soul." Right before the master turned her, and
she's not scared of this big demon on her bed. Like she's just like, all right, come and get me. Sure, let's go. But yeah, no, I think this is a good scene. I mean, Angel and Buffy do in general feel this way, but this felt very superhero-y to me. Like they're on a rooftop. We got the view of the city. Angel mentions she loves a view, which we love to mention with Darla. Yeah,
they do a really good job of the Alamo of it all. Like I always think of like the season 5 towards the end of Buffy when they all have to like get in the fucking Winnebago and just like fucking run. And that's a season finale vibe. So like the fact that this episode 9 of season 3, right? Yeah. 6. 9, whatever, 69,
9, 39, yeah.
multiple of 3. But the fact that this episode actually, like, thinking about it, like, no, like this, the stakes, like, this could be a season finale. Like, it does feel really big. You know, a rooftop like summit between the two star-crossed demon lovers, and then everyone holing up at a place where they're like just fucking trying to get the last defenses up. Like their backs are up against the wall. It's very X-Men, you know? Like,
yeah, it really is. Yeah. So we get Wesley and the group go to Caritas. I like that Lorne is like, she can't have the baby here. I feel like Lorne has every right to turn them away, right? Like,
yes,
we
should
have done that. Close. Yeah, we are not this close. You're gonna blow up my bar. You've already ruined it once.
He's already been beheaded for them.
He has a big banner that says grand reopening.
I know, the poor sign.
Like, once I lose my head for y'all, like, we're not friends anymore.
Right? And like, I don't know, everyone's just kind of like whatever about it. Like, I feel like Lorne could have just fucking hated them all after this.
But it shows how sweet he is.
Yeah.
Like, it makes you kind of, it's stupid, but it's endearing.
No, I think you're right.
And his suit is better in this episode than in the last one I was on. Jesus.
I think he got a haircut too. He looks terrific in this scene.
Yes.
Which was not a nice signifier of he's ready for business. He's ready for the opening. He looks great.
Yeah. No, I agree. He catches the contractor humming, realizes the contractor is like milking the construction, and fires him, which in my memory, I thought that him firing the contractor is why they are able to blow up the place. But no, he does complete the spell. It just, you know, Holtz finds a way around it.
That entire runner is so fucking good. Of them just like slapping gun and be like, nope, still. And like, because and was it like the second time we see that runner, isn't it Cordy like just like reading something and hitting him?
Yeah.
Which is very much like, you know, your dad is tinkering with the TV in the back and it's like, now, and you're just like, no.
Yeah.
No. Like, it's such a good energy.
Wes tells Angel they found a place. Angel asks if it's safe, and Wesley's kind of like, yeah, we'll be. Wolfram and Hart, we see that Lila and the translator has like done his job. The thing I love about this back and forth is when he's like, it is, but it isn't. It's not, but it is. And she's like, I have a gun.
Yeah.
And then he's like,
what are you doing? It's not a birth. It is a death. It's like there was no birth.
But there is still a birth.
Well, Darla dies. Like, he isn't birthed in the way of like Connor.
True.
I'm not going to use the gold star gay. It's a bad. He doesn't
like,
come out of a vagina.
So I guess like you could say that's not like a technical birth, I guess.
And I guess like in the like thousands of years ago when that prophecy was
true.
Written,
that's
did they have C-sections back then?
So I think the idea was that she was supposed to die in the alley and he would die in childbirth. And so her final act was in staking herself was to save him and to break the prophecy, or rather she found the way around the prophecy, I think is the way to read it. That scene is supposed to set up the drama of the baby's dying. She'll be dying in childbirth in the alley. But she finds the one way to save him. So her last moment is an act of heroism. She dies in a state of redemption, which she has multiple times. When she turned down Angel at the end of the trial, when human Darla, Angel offers to turn her, something she's been begging for the entire time. And Darla says no and just accepts her fate. She's had a couple of great outs. I mean, like really wonderful, dramatic. Like everyone hopes for a death scene that Darla has now had a couple of times. A really heroic death scene. Yeah. Except for her first one, the Darlie Quinn death, in the John Woo fight scene in Buffy season 1.
Those are a lot of words you just put together that I have no idea what you're talking about.
For season 1, Darla to me is more Harley Quinn than the Darla in Angel, and she dies in a 2-gun John Woo fight sequence at the end of episode 7 of Buffy. And when you realize where that character went, watching that scene in hindsight just feels like such a weird waste. But they made up for it at this point.
Yeah. Alastair, what were you going to say? Yeah.
I mean, just a quick aside, but so then would we say for Connor, death was her gift?
I mean, yeah, you're not incorrect.
I love that. I love that too, because Darla was originally introduced. They had, because of how metaphor heavy Buffy is, Darla's original intention was a Buffy parallel.
Yeah.
Buffy has so many mirrors, including Cordy. Cordy is a mirror of who Buffy used to be. Yeah. And so I love that read of her ending. Death is her gift in the final sequence. She dies in a way similar to how Buffy has when she saves the world a lot. That's great.
Yeah. Alastair, I'm curious, what do you think of the, like, I don't know, the lore of it all? Like,
I'm just pissed off for him.
Fair.
So he's finally ready to reopen Caritas, and then they come in. They're like, "Can we have our baby here? Have your baby somewhere else. Have your baby in a hospital. Go to a freaking hospital.
Y'all live in a huge ass hotel, like
exactly. Like have him somewhere else. Have the demon baby somewhere else." And he's even working to like make sure that, you know, all the issues from before don't happen. Now it's not going to be human or any demon violence in his bar. And then they up and just fuck it up.
Yeah, they really do.
Also,
yes,
his room is the same green as every room in the hotel.
I would have no doubt if it is the walls of the hotel.
Yeah, either that green was super popular back then, or that's another room of the hotel.
Wait, speaking of that, you know what I noticed? I think I might have said this in one other episode, but now I'm like almost positive. So, you know, Buffy and Angel love to blow up their sets if they weren't going to use them again, right? Like the Magic Box, Dark Willow destroys it. Season 1, Angel, they literally blow up the Angel Investigations smaller office. You know, they blow up the high school at the end of season 3. They never blow up the hotel or Wolfram and Hart, but they fully change. I think Wolfram and Hart in season 5, they fully reused to make a bigger, more expansive set, but I think they reused all of those because, like, there's a shelf in Lila's office that looks exactly the same as the shelf in Angel's office in season 5. And I kept thinking of that this episode, and I was like, I bet it's the same fucking wall shelf set, and they just moved it.
Recycle and reuse.
Yeah, there's a I think it's Dead Man's Party when Buffy has come back from LA.
Yeah.
There's the shot that makes me cry when Giles goes into the kitchen and takes his glasses off, and Anthony Stewart Head is so wonderful in acting without lines. He's wonderful anyway, but just his ability to just show Giles's relief and joy that Buffy has returned home. And behind him is a giant, ugly, rusted water heater. And in the vampire prostitutes episode, where Riley is in a vampire slum, paying to have his arm sucked on, Buffy turns a corner and there's a big tub in the middle of the room with that water heater sticking out of the tub. And you can tell because the shape of the rust spot just underneath where the intake connects to it is. I love seeing little details like that when they reuse things.
Clearly, we've all watched Buffy a lot.
A lot.
Also, I expected Lauren's, digs, like his room, to just be a lot more fabulous.
Yes, I feel like Lauren would have a very I feel like Lauren would have.
He had a mid-century chair. I clocked. I liked that. It felt like they were trying to go for the banana leaf of like Blanche Devereaux bedroom. Which, I have a wall in my apartment is the banana leaf print. Like it seemed like they were trying to do mid-century gay on an Angel budget, knowing this is only for one scene. And like, what do we got around? Okay.
I always remember I was friends with a guy who was like speaking of shows that did like background characters, a guy that was a featured extra on Community. And one time when I was in LA, he was like, want me to bring you on set? And I was like, I would love that. And so I got to like be on the Community set, and I think he was dating someone in the props department. And she was like, that's literally what they do. She was just like, oh, we have a box of scraps.
Yeah.
That is like stuff we've used. Cause they were filming the paintball episode where there's like, tons of like barricades and weird shit. And she was saying they basically have like a room of scraps and they just throw it all together. And she was showing me some of the weapons they made. And like some of them were like nonsense, nothing, but it's because it's like just some extra had to hold it in the background. So it didn't matter. So I always think like there was like a hammer with like a rubber band on it and like a nothing thing just attached to the top of it. And she was like, yep, this is the prop I made today. And they all looked fucking cool. Like, so yeah, I always think about that with shows like this. Like, I'm sure they're like, what do we have around?
Yeah, okay.
Because the Buffy demons, sometimes those one-off demons looked like they were like, open the closet, pick out 3 outfits, throw them on the same guy together.
I mean, Holtz's hench demons look very Party City to me.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah. Especially in the rain, they look even worse. Yeah. But okay, yes. So Lorne does the thing. He gets the spell working. Gunn and Angel kind of have a little back and forth. And no one's incorrect is another thing I like. Because like...
Very Buffy.
Yeah.
Everyone's got sides.
That's like what I always love about these shows is like Gunn's not like... I do like that Cordelia yells, I mean, of all people, to say, you always have to be so honest, because she knows that it's not incorrect. It's just, maybe you don't say it to the dad, but like...
It's like, we're all thinking it, but don't say it out loud.
I have learned this lesson.
The only person she's really protective of is Angel.
Yeah.
I love to see it too. She can say anything she wants to Angel, but she protects the episode in... the one with Jeremy Renner, where Angel's having dreams. Jeremy Renner's murdering again, and Wesley comes in with the newspaper and says, "I think this might be Angel." And she says, "You're allowed to leave now. Go ahead and get out." Yeah. I love her circle the wagons protectiveness of Angel. I think it's especially for Cordelia. It's such a great look.
Yeah, I love it. Angel brings Darla into Lorne's room. Fred notices that where Darla was sitting, there's like a bunch of blood. And we get like, basically Fred realizes what's happening. And then Darla kind of catches up, right? Because then she has the talk with Angel and she says, my darling boy, which is the name of a season 2 episode. I told you I had nothing to offer this kid. Some mother can't even offer it life because she doesn't have the like things you need to like have a living, breathing thing growing in you, because as she said at the start, she does not breathe.
And not only does Fred notice the blood, but then she allows him to put him in Lorne's bed without a towel or anything. They really just don't give a shit about Lorne.
I mean, at this point, I feel like we're like, I mean, I would also be mad if, like, can we put something down on my bed? Yeah. And then in walks Holtz after Lorne says they all need a drink. And it's like, man, these guys deserve to like sit and have a few drinks. Like, I wish they had at least gotten a few drinks in before it got blown up.
That's very good, very creepy. He's such a presence.
Yeah,
one of my that's one of my favorite. They don't overdo it, but the couple of because Lauren's ability is so high camp. The that he has to read people during karaoke. It could to take that ability and use it for moments of incredible punctuating drama. Again, the subversion. I love that the most famous one is in season 5. But there's just a couple throughout the series, and it's so good. And I love that Holtz is singing the song that he sang his daughter before he took her out in the sunshine.
Yeah,
that's again a great piece of symmetry.
And I like how nice Lauren is to Holtz. Like, I like that Lauren is like, oh, hey, sorry, we're like not open yet, but come back tomorrow. Here's a flyer. We're having a grand opening and I'll see you later. Like, he isn't like rude or whatever. He just thinks, oh, this is like a customer, whatever. It very much reminds me of like interacting with like someone's homophobic parents when you're like meeting a friend's parents or whatever, a partner's parents, and they're like wildly homophobic and conservative, whatever. And you have to be like kind of polite to them. And they're kind of like, yes. Okay. Like, this reminded me of when my conservative grandmother met my boyfriend for the first time, and she literally like looked like she was gonna crawl into herself. She like put her shoulders up and put her hands together and was like, very nice to meet you. And that was like all she could say to him. And like, mind you, he's also covered in tattoos with like big gauges. So to her, it was like a double whammy of bad. That's what I kept thinking in this, because I like that Holtz doesn't really have anything to say, right? Like, he doesn't, for all his posturing, he should be like, dirty demon, blah, blah, blah. But he's just like, okay, thanks. I'm gonna go
just walks in.
Yeah, like.
It's also like telling that, like, none of them recognize him because none of them have seen him yet, right? Like, that's also fun, because everyone that knows what he looks like is back in Lauren's room getting it bloody and messed up.
Yeah.
Which just shows, like, if you're on a team, like Angel's first words when he got back was like, okay, so guys, look out for a guy. He's about 5'8".
This is what he looks like. Yeah.
He's wearing a cloak and got a goatee and like just look out for that guy, right? But no, just don't talk. I did like Angel had a cell phone.
Yes.
I love seeing phones.
It's weird that Angel in this season, they have cell phones, and this would be season 5 of Buffy?
This is 6 of Buffy.
6 of Buffy. They still don't get cell phones till next season. Like, but I know it's like for plot reasons. So then I think this is such a cool, I think of a lot of this. We talked about slow motion in last episode, Ian, right? And how some of it didn't work. Here, I think it works like 1,000%. Like the barrel, like slowly tumbling down.
Well, they're also not doing that weird frame rate drop. Which the difference may be this was shot in high speed to be played in slow motion.
Oh yeah, probably because writer director, same person, has that vision.
Right. Yeah, and the slow motion that in the previous episode where they didn't have interpolative. In other words, the computer makes up the missing frames. Slow motion. So when you slowed something down, you just lost frames. You played it at half speed instead of doing it the way it's done here. It's really nice. That like the grenade catch is proper slow motion. It doesn't have the dropped frame rate in the shot too. So yeah, having the writer be the director this time probably helped for stuff like that.
Yeah, and then he blows up the fucking bar. All of this is so good. The music that's playing is so good. I mean, Brett, you mentioned it does feel like they're like Last Stand, right? Like they're all like huddled.
This is a big
bar.
Oh shit moment. I think this is an Angel moment that I think fans remember for. It's just that.
Yeah,
because they spent so much time getting that thing to work, and they didn't think of the one loophole of like you got to be in the bar for the no violence thing.
I did like that because in my head I was like, oh, Lauren doesn't actually do the spell right. And then that's how I remembered it. But then watching it, I was like, oh no, the bomb stops at the doorway, doesn't come in the bar. But if it's blowing up, it's blowing up. And it's not human or demon violence because it's just like a thing. Yeah, I think it's like so cool. And I looked when I was watching it. I looked to see the timestamp. I was like, "How much time do we have left?" Because I know how this has to end. And
it makes Holtz one of the smartest villains that Angel's ever faced.
Yeah,
like that moment. It's a low bar. But that moment of cleverness, of thoughtfulness, he looked in, eyeballed, and said, okay, no violence here. So how do we get around this? And it's a wonderful show don't tell for Holtz.
Yeah. Angel and Darla see everyone run into the room. Angel, I do like when Angel's like, it's Holtz, and Darla's like, what? And he's like, didn't feel like a right time to tell you. And I'm like, why the fuck wouldn't he have told Darla? That's really important.
By the way, this guy, we remember killed his family a couple hundred years ago. He's back.
He's kind of hunting both of us.
Not a good time.
Deal. And like all the like panic here works, the like tension here, they have to rip through the wall, and they're like, Angel, we need your help. And he's like, okay. And then he's just like punching into the wall.
It was like rhinoceros and like it was like a Buddha head or something. Like just
they're just using a smash. All of this so good. And then the rain, it like ups the tension as well. Like, oh, it's a rainy, dark fucking alley.
And I also love this moment of like, a lot of them are running to get the car, and then Fred stays behind. And I think that is such a cool.
Yeah.
This is a Darla episode, and then after that, it's an Angel episode. But they give Fred this moment of bravery and like compassion and she's like, they're going to come back. Like they're coming back for all of us. So I'm staying. Like, and she's holding the coat over Darla and herself. And it's such a, is this like, I mean, I don't know. I didn't watch any of the episodes between this and the premiere. Is this a big moment for Fred? Has she had any other big like steps out of
I think Fredless was a couple of episodes ago.
Right.
She's just starting to come into her own as a member of the team, and this feels she's a background character here, but she has wonderful beats, more so than maybe the rest of Cordy, Fred, and Wes do at this point. And her staying behind's a nice.
Her
moment.
being the one to do it is so interesting. It's just such a cool thing.
Amy Acker is so wonderful, and like she's so wide-eyed that she's the best person for them to have as the like friend that is helping, who can't really do that. Like she's still a human, so she can't do much, but is going to help. And like every time they pan to her eyes are wide and teary, and like it hurt my feelings every time. I was like a little bit more teary-eyed when they cut to Fred, and Fred looking like so upset and so like knowing she can't do much, then hold the fucking jacket. And that's kind of it. Alastair, I need to know your thoughts.
She's just a human umbrella. They needed somebody to hold up a coat, and that's what she is. She cares more about Darla in this right here than she cared about Lauren when she let him stay in the bed. Let them stay in the bed. So that's my opinion about that.
You don't like this scene, Alastair?
I liked it more before. I liked it a lot more before. It was a very dramatic scene. Yeah, it had drama. It had rain. It had crying. So cool for that. Yeah.
So yeah, and I love the Darla and Angel's conversation, and like them doing this while we're seeing Holtz slow motion walk through Caritas into Lauren's room, and it's like, fuck, he's getting there. And like, for me, this is like one of
again, their conversation is like, that's just who Darla was, and we're just not letting her die as how she is. I don't know. I
feel like it's like, this is her big redemption. I feel like this is, I mean, to your point earlier, Ian, the women get the brunt of all of this kind of stuff. So like, this is like her and Angel both, this is kind of like, we know this is like our punishment and we're accepted. Like, she's kind of like, we did terrible things. This is the one, she says, one of the few good things we did. The only good thing we did.
The phrasing she uses is very important, and she makes a connection that I hadn't really. I was, of course, one of the best scenes in the show is the end of 5 by 5 with Faith and Angel in the alleyway in the rain, and she makes a connection here that I hadn't placed, because in the flashbacks you don't really notice it, but she says, "Our baby is going to die in this alley." You died in an alley, you remember? And for her to call it died, she killed
Yeah.
Angel in the alley. She didn't birth Angelus in the alley. The phrasing I think shows the turn that she's dealing with, and I think is really beautiful. But the significance of alleyways on the show, I hadn't placed until she said that, which is that, that's Angelus's birthplace, born in some back alley in Ireland someplace. So the repetition
back,
of it.
It's in an alley. He kills that woman in an alley when he comes back.
Yeah, he does. Who is Buffy's stunt double, which is one of the interesting. The actress is Buffy's stunt double.
Sophia Crawford.
I think so. Yeah. But the motif of using alleyways. Buffy is big on basements. Basements are very much a symbol of evil in the show. Whenever something's evil is happening, it's in the basement.
Devours. Yeah,
exactly. Flooded. Her basement floods, and that's her dealing with her psychology and emotions. And her the final fight is in the basement. The villain's a shark. So Buffy has basements, and Angel has alleyways, which, as a recurring motif that I really like.
So Darla stakes herself, and there is the baby. And I'm so grumpy about. I felt as I've gotten older, I've gotten grumpier about like when Darla's like, "Why would someone want a kid?" I was like, "Fucking right, Darla. Why would someone want a kid?" Like, Jesus Christ, this sounds awful. And I get like worse and worse as I go on, as I get older.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess like maybe like being single does it. But even when I have boyfriends, I'm like, "Ew, no kids."
No.
But like even me, who is very like about like any like heteronormative, whatever, like nuclear family, whatever. Even me, I was like, oh, like I was like, so like, oh, this sucks for everyone. The poor baby doesn't even know like what the fuck it's gonna go through. And like Angel, I feel like, I don't know. It's just like Angel's like almost cowering with the baby.
Yeah.
And like that's like unlike him. So you can tell, oh, even Angel's like really scared because he doesn't know. One would imagine even if he was like, well, I can fight these demons, it would be hard to fight with a baby. Alastair?
So I think that this is a perfect time to put Zach's note in for this.
Okay.
He says, I was devastated when Darla died. Her legacy is leaving 2 whiny bitch boys in the world. R.I.P. And I completely agree. Like they like, I mean,
she
not
made
with
the best.
Angel. I mean, Angel was a whiny bitch boy, but
Yeah.
I love him for it. But Connor also, like that being her legacy is just like, and the fact that she had to die for that, we have to kill off another woman character to do this. It just didn't sit right with me, and it didn't sit right with me then either, because I was like, really, this amazing, wonderful character that we all love in our own way is dying for this character we don't know. So we don't know the character. The only thing that makes us maybe want to like the character is it's a baby, and a lot of people like babies. I don't like babies. I don't like babies, but like that's his like. I mean, I don't know. I don't like it.
And see, like the thing is,
at least with Illyria. Sorry, at least with Illyria, we got to know Illyria. Oh, actually,
for like 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Well,
Illyria was an attempt to course correct some of, as I understand it, Amy was tired of playing Fred's sort of love triangle stuff and where those stories all were. Yeah. And Illyria was an attempt to kind of course correct the problem, and then she gets caught up in Wes's story again.
And I did always read that which they did in the comics was to make it that Fred was starting to come through the next season, like that it was like a back and forth between Fred and Illyria in the body.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, yeah, and they didn't know that the season was getting canceled until half the stories were already in the can. Yeah. So who knows what the original intent was, but that was the thing I heard. And Angel, the show, does have that problem.
Yes.
Cordy in 1 and 2 is incredible. She's on her own redemption in Room with a View, her talking about, this is what I deserve. Maybe I'm being punished for all the things I did for the person that I used to be. Her sense of everyone on the show needs redemption, but I guess maybe she crosses the by the end of season 1 or 2, and they struggle to give her more to fight for or drama, because then it becomes the Diet Angel with the Gruselug, and then getting caught up in the Angel bit, and then the whole reason she comes back in an episode that people love that I have very mixed feelings for. She says, I got my man back on track.
My favorite episode of the series. No, I can't even pretend.
I
talking about the season 5 episode?
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
I have such mixed feelings about that episode, but it is just an issue with Angel's writing of women. And it's weird because Buffy is such a vaunted show. I mean, progressivism is a sliding scale, but at the period of its at its launch, kind of revolutionary, kind of amazing for the writing of its women, among many other reasons. But it's just weird that the spinoff fell down in that regard so many times. And I like the Wes Fred stuff. At the same time as thinking that it does Fred's characters no favors. You know, like, two contrasting ideas don't necessarily negate each other. They can both be true. Yeah.
No, yeah. And I usually feel whatever about a romance anyway, and like the love triangle never did anything.
Oh, the triangle, yeah, who cares?
I like Gunn and her never had romantic chemistry.
No.
Wes and her had a little bit, but I didn't ever care until maybe the final season when it was like, all right, yeah.
Gunn and Wes had way more romantic chemistry than Gunn and Fred did.
Would have been into that. So Holtz comes out, he sees him holding the baby, and he puts the crossbow down, lets Angel walk to the car, as Sajan is yelling for him to finish it. And he's like, you swore to me. And he says, I swore that I would show no mercy, and I won't. And then we get the like building music, and it's the end.
It's another good Holtz switcheroo where you think that like, oh no, like he's taking the high road and is gonna like he understands so Angel has a soul, it isn't right. And then you do that last minute like, oh no, actually now I have a kid to fuck up. Yeah. So this is getting worse.
I love it. Alastair, what do you think about the ending, at least? Do you like that? Like, it's okay if you don't.
I mean, the ending was like, it didn't make sense to me when I was a kid and I was watching it. I was like, why doesn't he just kill him right now? Like, it didn't make sense to me. But I think with the context, I think that Ian too provided, especially with like him being able to do a similar thing, a similar revenge.
I
like it better after knowing that, but you know, I'm also like, just shoot it. I don't know.
Wait, also, Alastair, didn't you tell me season 3 was your favorite season?
It is my favorite season. And I will say I really do like Cordelia's arc throughout this entire season. I think it just falls apart once we get to the next season, because everything that she was leading up to, because I think that we did, you know, get through, you know, her becoming herself in season 1 and 2, and then season 3, she's a realized person, a realized character, and then we were supposed to continue off from that platform, but that just didn't happen. So
she got pregnant, and Joss Whedon hates pregnant women.
She does not like pregnant women.
Really didn't like that. She did that to him. He's really the...
You would be able to tell from all the mystical pregnancy stories.
And the thing is, at the time, I was like, okay, because I was a kid, I was like, I guess she got pregnant, so she couldn't be in an action show. But then I'm like, I'm watching other shows where there's people who are pregnant on them, and they just like put props in front of them.
Yeah,
you know,
Alastair, you know that when I was younger and I watched, that's what I thought. I was like, oh, well, she quit because she got pregnant, so she just like.
That makes sense, but then no, like you can get around that pretty easily.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
you could even write it into the show in a way that makes any kind of sense and isn't just fucking insane.
I mean, I reference Seinfeld, my favorite sitcom. Julia Louis-Dreyfus holds like a fucking book or like a dish in front of her
twice
belly.
On that show. Like it's not like
the right bread. She's just holding something, or they put her in a jacket.
Purses, jackets.
Like, you can do it. It just doesn't make sense.
I also like. I mean. I also like they didn't do a job of even hiding Charisma Carpenter's pregnancy in the first part of season 4. I was like, oh, well, this clear. I remember watching it being like, when are they going to address the fact that Cordelia is pregnant? And then when she does the sexy baby bump reveal, and I was like, yeah, I've been watching the show with my eyes. I fucking know. What story are you telling?
or they could have at least had like a weight gain little plot line. Maybe she's stressed out, eating a lot, you know? I don't know. Something.
There would have been so many ways for them, like you said, Brett, to do it in a way that made sense.
I will say, I also like, coming from a comic book background, anytime a baby is introduced, it's going to be a problem. Well, it's like, okay, well, because as a comic book reader, a baby cannot be in this book because a baby is a timestamp. It's why Franklin Richards is now, I think, finally a teenager about 50 years after he was born.
I just noticed that recently, and I was like, oh, they did age him up.
Or they have to do the Ilyana, like the artificial aging of like she went to a hell dimension and then she came back and was a better character, cooler character. Connor doesn't get that. So like seeing a baby here, the one thing that Buffy the Buffyverse has is like time. That's what live action does, because actors age and have lives and you can't stop that. So they could have gone a very interesting route with Connor of like, well, now we have a fucking baby. What are we going to do? And like, if they hadn't done the Hell Dimension storyline, like it does introduce a lot of it. I don't know. Connor could have been interesting if maybe if they didn't do any of the stuff they did with him. Imagine if Connor by the end of the series was like a 2-year-old.
Connor would have been interesting if he was a baby. Connor. If he was a different character.
If he was a completely different character.
If he was a child who could not talk or walk.
I will say, and I know it's a full just rewrite different character, I do like where we end up with him in season 5.
I was about to say, one of the common things I get when I express Connor frustration is like, well, what about season 5 Connor? Yeah, season 5 Connor is a different character. It like the memory wiped, reimplanted, all of it. It's not the same character, just like the baby is not the same character as what comes back from. There's 3 different Connors in the show.
I do wish we had gotten that Connor, though. I do like that Connor, and I feel like once Connor was in the credits in season 4, I thought we were going to get a Connor that's like, well, he's going to begrudgingly help them, but anyway, we've already talked about Connor enough. Before we get to our closing statements, I wanted to introduce a clip of me talking to Julie Benz about this episode and having that big old pregnancy belly on while fighting everybody.
So the belly that I was wearing was basically, it's like a pillow. So it wasn't heavy at all. But that scene where you guys haven't gotten there yet.
Well, no, we do spoilers and I've watched it a million times already. So
okay, same. When they're giving me an ultrasound, and it's in a couple episodes from where you guys are at, they made this fake prosthetic belly. And that thing was disgusting. It had veins, and it was like, and literally they didn't attach it to me because at the scene I was just laying down, and so it was just laying. It just felt gross. It was just, and I was like, that's like one of the ugliest bellies I've ever seen because they put veins in it, and like it was so again not supermodel pregnant.
Well, super vampire pregnant instead.
Super vampire pregnant. It was really gross.
And make sure to check out our YouTube channel for the watch-along commentary video Julie Benz and I did together on Angel Season 3's Lullaby to hear more of her thoughts on this episode. It should be dropping later this week. All right, and now that we are at the end, favorite scene, Brett?
Everyone, the Darla scene, obviously, or the explosion of Caritas, obviously, or I will go with Lila getting holy water sprinkled in her face, just because that's like a dark horse. That's a hidden gem.
All right, Alastair?
I'd say I'm also going to go with Lila. I think Lila in her office threatening the guy doing the translations and like talking about the whole highlighter of it all.
All right, Ian?
The final scene. The alleyway. I'm a sucker for a rainy alleyway in Angel.
Yeah, same. I just cannot pick another scene because I love it. Favorite outfit, Alastair?
I guess Holtz, but I did like Cordelia's jacket. Cordelia's jacket, but Holtz.
All right, Brett?
Yeah, I was gonna say Holtz's mastermind because that's the same kind
Brad,
of.
I thought you would have the same answer I do.
Mastermind. No, I still don't think Lauren is not wearing good suits. Like, I mean, it's a better suit because it fits him better, but the cut and the fabric and stuff is not. I mean, I'm a bitch when it comes to menswear. I'm very picky.
Ian?
I probably the one Musketeer.
All right. Wait, the what? What is that?
Holtz.
Oh, I can't believe you're all picking Holtz. What's wrong with you people? I feel like Holtz is wearing like a potato sack. Couldn't even tell you what he's wearing.
He's wearing what Mastermind wore in the 60s X-Men comic.
Yes.
That's why I like it.
Brett, I was thinking, because I'm not making a Holtz figure, I was like, I could use the like jacket that people use for the custom Mastermind from Old Man Logan. Just like put it and put the back to the camera, and that's what I'm gonna do for Holtz. I gotta say, I like the turquoise and like salmon pink suit that Lauren's wearing. We don't fully. It's better fitting than other ones.
Jesus, it's not.
I like this,
that's a potato sack that he was wearing earlier.
I don't understand. I like an ill-fitting suit. To be fair to you, Brett, will also dry. Like, I would rather see someone in a t-shirt and jeans than an ill-fitting suit. Like, I don't understand when people wear these like suits where the like sleeves are just a little too long and the shoulders a little too big, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, you look great." I'm like, "This looks awful.
Just because no."
Yeah. But I
think men's fashion, it was specifically going through. I'm not particularly knowledgeable about it, but it seems like it was going through a transitional period when this was airing, because the whole first season, I think of the horrible cocaine club. I can't remember the name of it, where we meet Kate in the first one. It's all douchey lawyer guys in shoulder pad, giant poofy suits. Yeah. And it feels like it's getting better as it goes, but we're not quite to the fitted look yet.
Post Frasier, pre Mad Men. It's like this is a dead.
Yeah.
Like early Frasier is like a peak of good looking 90s menswear, and then it goes into pleather.
Alastair, I feel like you had something to interject.
No, I muted myself so that I'd burp. Oh. But I will say, I've been, me and Zach have just been on watching Interview with the Vampire, and it's just gotten us into watching a bunch of like 90s vampire movies, and the leather. Everybody would just wear leather. And I think even in Buffy, like, it was always like, oh, vampire, leather.
Well, leather pants are the sign of a character going evil.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like that happens.
If Buffy's wearing black leather, things are about to go down.
Or the red leather pants. Faith wearing leather pants. I mean, Willow, evil Willow, leather pants. Like,
I gotta say, like, I am not opposed to new trends, but I absolutely will not embrace baggy clothes again. Like, when I see those looks on a red carpet and people are like, "Oh yes," I'm like, "Ew, this is awful!" Like, what are you talking about? This is a sleigh. This is like terrible. They're in like a pool of clothes.
I keep hearing about how Gen Z's like, "Ew, if you're not wearing calf-length tube socks, you're a millennial." Yes, I'm not wearing calf-length tube socks.
I remember when you were old if you were wearing calf-length tube socks.
Right.
It was like it all goes back and forth.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
To be fair, I did just buy some because I'm like, well, I did see a bunch of tweets like that, and I'm like, oh, am I not like?
I have to wear calf-length tube socks. Just
if I'm wearing shorts, it is a no-show kind of sock day.
I do think they look cute sometimes. This is totally off subject, and Ian, I am sorry.
I'm learning.
I don't know why, but like, this is so stupid. I feel like they look slutty. Like when I wear them, I feel like it like looks like I'm going out to like find a man or something, and I have no idea why. Like that's what I like think of them as, almost as like lingerie or something. I could not tell you why. Anyway, what grade do we give this episode? Ian?
Wait, I'm still processing everything I just heard.
You're welcome.
This one's an A for me.
Right.
Yeah. I think there are episodes in season 5 of Angel that get close to perfect, but there's problems with, for the most part, in all 4 seasons, for the first seasons, there's problems with any of the particular episode. But, they made me feel things. And that's my bar, is like, give me the feels and I'll forgive a whole bunch of stuff. I really enjoy this one.
That's fair. All right, Alastair?
I came into this episode wanting to give it a C.
Okay.
And y'all made a lot of really good points, so I'm going to give it a C.
Alistair, I love when you're bratty. I feel like usually it's me. Brett, what grade do you give it?
It's an A.
I give it an A as well.
Yeah.
This is like one of my favorite Angel episodes. This is probably maybe my favorite moment is like of the series is this like rainy alley birth scene. Thank you to the three of you for joining. Ian, what? Yes.
I was just going to say, for the record, I have been where Alastair is with this one.
Ian has been.
I started with, I hate mystical pregnancy stories. And then once that sort of normalized on rewatches, I was like, but this is leading to Connor. This may be one of the first times where I was like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah. So Alistair, you are not alone. Yes.
Yeah, I get it, is all I'm saying.
See, I was all okay with mystical pregnancies, and then slowly, surely, I just hate them so much. I hate them so much.
I do understand that. I don't want you to think I'm endorsing. I fucking hate.
Ian endorses mystical pregnancies. That's what I just heard.
Going back to Lost, where they had when what's-her-face was pregnant, then gave birth, and then just spent a season screaming about her baby, and then they wrote her off the show.
Yeah.
I hated that plot line because they also didn't know, like, no one never know what to do. Like you said, Brett, it's like, we have a baby problem.
Comes, it's like,
what do we do?
On the X Factor, when Cyclops had a kid, they just put him in a little protected bubble, and he just bounced around while they fought bad guys. And then he became Cable and Strife. So,
that's why they made what?
That's why they made Dawn 14. They were like, we can't have a baby.
Can't be a baby.
It would be an interesting question. It's like, what are the top 5 kid babies born into a series that didn't suck?
Yeah.
Because mostly, I think they're unless the show is centered on young adults, aimed at young adults, I think that they're destructive for plot lines and stories.
Lily in Modern Family, but that's not mystical.
Alistair, I want you to know.
Not necessarily mystical.
you thought of that too?
I was like, well, Modern Family, they get a baby in like the first episode.
2 men having a baby sounds like witchcraft to me.
They do age her up though, and like between that one season where suddenly she's like more of a kid than a baby.
I can think of a lot of Goonies style stories about kids on an adventure that I think are great, but mostly when it's an adult show with adult characters and a kid is introduced, a child specifically is introduced, it doesn't go well.
No.
As long as if they're trying to make them like part of the cast, it doesn't go well. But if it's like 911 and they have kids at home, then it's just like, they're just not in it, you know?
Or the kid is in it so rarely that you start to feel like the character who had it is a neglectful parent.
Yeah, that's most of the time.
Or like in X-Men, Brett, Jubilee had a baby and that baby is non-existent,
Well, else a dragon in another dimension or something. I don't know. God.
Yeah. Fucking Christ. Thank you to the review for joining me. Thank you to everyone for listening. If you liked Slayerfest 98, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and you can watch the videos on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to us. Please give us a good rating and support us on Patreon. You can find us on social at SlayerFestX98. You can find me at IanXCarlos on all social media platforms. Alistair, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at all socials at Alastair J. Patton. I also do Hello Gentle Viewers on my husband's Patreon on AZB+.
I feel like it's like both of your Patreons is what I always think of it at, but I guess you're right. It's the name.
For legal reasons, it's his Patreon.
Ian, where can everyone find you?
I am youtube.com/passion of the nerd.
And Brett, where can everyone find you?
You can follow me on Instagram Instagram at Brett White. You can also follow my drag career at Barb Hardley on YouTube and Instagram. And my sitcom podcast, Must Have Seen TV, launched a Patreon that I am still trying to figure out how to work. So, hey, it's there, baby. Must Have Seen TV. Look for it.
It's a rocky road to getting it to where you need it to be.
Things synced up.
But all right, everyone, we will see you next time. Bye.